Introduction to Part 2: 4 Shocking Beliefs You Won't Believe Existed. History is filled with beliefs that seem impossible and even absurd today, yet people once lived by them as absolute truths. In Part 1, we explored strange beliefs like animal trials and the ban on coffee. But that was just the beginning. Today in Part 2, we dive into 4 more shocking beliefs that were once taken seriously. The ban on umbrellas in Europe. Women shouldn't read books. Forks were considered evil. The hatred for Nikola Tesla, a genius like no other. We travel back in time, confront those who upheld these beliefs, and challenge them with modern science and logic. Were these ideas based on truth, or simply the result of fear and ignorance? Join me on FactUp as we uncover the truth. The umbrella ban in Europe. Today, umbrellas are an ordinary part of daily life. But in the past, they were not only unusual, but also considered unnecessary, offensive, and even against the will of God. At that time, umbrellas were seen as a symbol of aristocracy, and many people rejected them. But the strongest opposition came from the coachmen. They believed that umbrellas were a threat to their business. If people could walk in the rain with an umbrella, why would they pay for a carriage ride just to stay dry? As a result, coachmen mocked those who used umbrellas, threw mud at them, and even yelled insults, calling them stingy for refusing to pay for transportation. In Paris, umbrellas were more than just a luxury item. Some religious leaders believed that rain was a blessing from God, and using an umbrella was an act of defiance against divine will. But let's travel back in time and speak with one of these religious figures to see if his reasoning makes sense. Father, I've heard that some religious figures believe umbrellas are unnecessary or even inappropriate. Why do you hold this belief? Rain is a gift from God. He sends it to cleanse the earth, and we should accept it. An umbrella only prevents people from receiving this divine blessing. But don't houses also have roofs? If God wanted us to always be wet, then why did He allow us to build shelter? Houses are natural places of refuge, but an umbrella is an unnecessary tool. God sends rain so that we may experience hardship, not avoid it with such inventions. So if someone is sick and the rain makes their condition worse, should they still avoid using an umbrella? If they are sick, they should stay home and rest. But umbrellas? They are nothing more than symbols of arrogance and selfishness. Ordinary people should not use them. Today, we know that umbrellas are more than just a tool to stay dry. In fact, they have helped reduce illnesses caused by cold weather and pneumonia and have made life much easier. They are not only useful in the rain, but also in snow, allowing people to carry on with their daily tasks without getting drenched or catching a cold. This is especially important for children and the elderly, who are more vulnerable to illnesses caused by exposure to rain and cold. In the 18th century, people believed that using an umbrella was a sign of arrogance and defiance against divine blessings. But time proved this to be nothing more than a misunderstanding. Today, umbrellas are not just accepted, but considered an essential part of modern life. But this is just one of many bizarre historical beliefs. Perhaps one day, some of the things we believe today will seem ridiculous to future generations. Join me on FactUp as we explore another strange belief in the next episode. Case number 2. The belief that women shouldn't read. In the 19th century, a belief existed that women should not read, as it could harm them or distract them from their traditional roles. This idea reached its peak in the 19th century, especially in Western societies. One of the most influential figures in promoting this belief was Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the famous Swiss-French philosopher of the 18th century. He believed that women should obey men and embrace their traditional roles. In his book Émile, Rousseau argued that women's education should be limited to household duties and raising children, and that they had no need for higher learning. Let's travel back to the 19th century and have a conversation with the man himself to see how he defends this idea. Mr. Rousseau, I've heard that you believe women should not read. Why do you hold such a belief? Rousseau, reading can divert women from their primary responsibilities and lead them to dangerous thoughts. It can cause them to rebel and become unruly. But aren't there many examples of women who have contributed to society through their education and knowledge? Rousseau, there may be exceptions, but generally, reading is not suitable for women and can be harmful to them. Today, we know that reading is not only harmless for women, but also incredibly beneficial. It helps with personal growth, awareness, and critical thinking skills. Many women throughout history have made groundbreaking achievements and significantly contributed to society through education and learning. The belief that women should not read was rooted in fear of change and maintaining the status quo. Today, this idea seems completely irrational and outdated. In the future, we will dedicate a separate video to discussing women's progress and its impact on family structures. If you're interested, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss it. Join me on FactUp as we explore another strange belief in the next episode. Case number 3, the ban on bicycles in Iran for being Satan's vehicle. Today, bicycles are one of the simplest and most beneficial modes of transportation, but at one time, they were strictly banned in certain countries and even labeled as Satan's vehicle. This reaction peaked in late Qajar-era Iran, when the first bicycles were imported from Europe. Some religious figures and ordinary people, unfamiliar with the mechanics of this device, believed that a vehicle moving without a horse or donkey must be powered by supernatural forces. But Iran was not the only country with such a belief. In Europe and America, during the late 19th century, some people thought bicycles were inappropriate and even immoral for women. Restrictions were imposed because bicycles were seen as a symbol of rebellion and corruption. Now let's travel back to Qajar-era Iran and find out why some people considered this invention to be a tool of the devil. I walk through the dusty streets of Old Tehran. People in traditional clothing go about their daily routines. Suddenly, all eyes turn to a foreign man riding a bicycle, gliding effortlessly through the crowd without a horse or donkey. A murmur spreads among the people. Some step back in fear, while others stare in curiosity. Sir, why are people so shocked by this vehicle? Haven't you seen how it moves without an animal? This is nothing but foreign magic. Maybe demons are pushing it forward. But in other countries, bicycles are a normal way of transportation. People simply pedal and it moves. Everyone knows that the Westerners are in league with Satan. Now, they've brought a tool to lead our people astray. This device brings arrogance, distances people from God, and could even promote immorality. So you believe the bicycle is a real danger? Yes, this vehicle makes people abandon their reliance on God and their traditional way of life. It's best if no one uses it. How this belief changed over time, people gradually realized that bicycles moved purely by human effort, not supernatural forces. With increasing awareness, this traditional belief faded, and bicycles became one of the most important forms of transportation and exercise worldwide. Today, not only is no one afraid of bicycles, but they are also considered one of the healthiest and most eco-friendly ways to get around. This story shows how beliefs that once seemed entirely logical can later appear absurd and irrational. In the future, we will release a separate video discussing how modern technologies challenge traditional beliefs. If you're interested, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss it. Join me on FactUp as we explore another strange belief in the next episode. Can you believe that at one point, some people didn't see Nikola Tesla as a genius, but instead viewed him as dangerous or even a sorcerer? Today, Tesla is recognized as one of the greatest scientific minds in history, but in his time, he was not widely celebrated. In fact, after his laboratory burned down in 1895, some blamed him and even despised him. In the 19th century, electricity was still a mysterious and even frightening concept for many people. Some believed that Tesla was working with supernatural or even demonic forces. When his New York laboratory was destroyed, certain groups saw it as divine punishment for meddling in things beyond human control. But why was this brilliant mind, now known as the father of modern electricity, so misunderstood in his time? Let's travel back to New York in 1895 and see what people thought of him back then. Smoke rises from Tesla's laboratory. A large crowd gathers, watching as one of the most advanced scientific centers of the time is reduced to ashes. But among the spectators, there aren't many sorrowful faces. Instead, some whisper with a sense of satisfaction, believing that this disaster was the result of meddling with things that shouldn't be touched. I approach a man in the crowd and ask, Why do people seem pleased instead of sympathetic about this fire? Man, don't you know? Tesla always claimed he could send electricity through the air without wires. What else could that mean but that he was trying to control something that belongs only to God? But Tesla is a scientist, not a magician. He uses natural laws to develop new technologies. Then why can no one else do what he does? They say he can control lightning. Maybe this fire was the result of him tampering with things he shouldn't have. But if you don't understand Tesla today, do you think that in the future people will see him as a fraud? Man, I don't know. Maybe he's crazy, or maybe he's something more than we realize. But it's better to leave these things in God's hands. How this belief changed. Decades later, the world finally realized that Tesla wasn't just a genius. His inventions laid the foundation for much of modern technology. Alternating current, AC, which powers nearly the entire world today, was his invention. Radio, wireless communication, and modern energy transmission technologies were all inspired by his experiments. His visionary ideas about wireless energy and free electricity are still studied today. Yet in his own time, some saw him as crazy, dangerous, or even a sorcerer. This story shows how people often fear what they don't understand, sometimes rejecting or even attacking innovation. Perhaps the things we fear today will one day revolutionize our world. In the future, we will release a separate video discussing the impact of scientists on shaping the future of humanity. If you're interested, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss it. Join me on FactUp as we explore another strange belief in the next episode. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Today, we traveled through time and explored 4 bizarre beliefs that, at one point, were considered absolute truths. Some of these ideas might seem laughable today, but they remind us of an important lesson. What we accept as normal now may one day be questioned, just as these beliefs were. But this is just the beginning. In the next episode, we'll dive into even more astonishing and thought-provoking beliefs from history. So if you're curious to see what's next, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your support means a lot and helps keep FactUp growing. If you enjoyed this journey through history and critical thinking, give this video a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay curious, keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next episode.